Hi, welcome to our show. We are very excited to have RaqC, and you know RaqC from Latino 96.3. In fact, RaqC, tell us, you're doing a lot of things right now. What are you, in fact, you were recently in a magazine.
Dude, I'm all over the place. First of all, thank you for having me, and I'm just living life, you know?
Definitely.
Like Kanye West says, the good life. Every day I'm on the grind, you know, putting my name out there and the face to the name that people hear on radio. And yeah, I actually was this I have to tell you has to be one of my biggest accomplishments is coming out on the November issue of Latina magazine with Kat Von D on the cover, which is another Latina that's doing big things. And but I got actually like a whole entire page in the magazine, page 108.
And how did that happen? How did they come to you?
You know what? Dude, it's a trip how this happened. A listener actually wrote in a letter to the main editor of Latina magazine, and I don't know if you know this, but there is not a lot of Salvadoreños, gente salvadoreña, that are represented in the media.
That's
like
true.
Actors, singers. There's really not a lot of us that are in entertainment, even though we have great personalities, but our nationality really isn't out there. So this guy happens to be Salvadorian. He goes, man, you're like the Salvadorians' pride and joy in LA.
Really?
So he wrote in like a letter to the editor, and she took interest. He was like, you know, you guys got to feature this girl. And they emailed my manager, and that's how the whole interview came about. And they came to the radio station, and they had a photo shoot with me. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. I mean, it's like I always like visualized it,
right?
But it's like it's happening way before I thought it was going to happen.
Explain to us real quick, because I've heard that before. You visualize something. Explain.
You know, to me, I'm all about if you can close your eyes and visualize it, it's possible. Because if you could close your eyes and see it, it's because it can happen. You know.
Okay.
So ever since.
But you didn't visualize yourself being on Latina.
No, you know, I actually visualized myself being on the cover one day.
Oh, okay.
So when I'm on the cover, holla, you know, I'm going to be on the cover.
We'll have you back on.
I told my mom, I said, Mom, I promise you that I'm going to be on the cover of this magazine one day. Just like I told her one day I want to come out in Latina magazine, and I did. And it's
when did you tell her that? Do you remember?
I don't remember exactly when I told her, but I told her.
Right.
You know, and just like I would tell people when I was a little girl, I'm going to be on the radio one day. And I didn't know when. My goal was always to come back to LA, and it's like when I was 23, it was my first time in LA being on the airwaves, and I was the youngest Latina DJ to rock the airwaves in LA.
Wow.
So to me, it's just a lot of hard work that I've done. I get a lot of questions on MySpace or through my website, like, hey, RaqC, so you just landed in LA, huh? And I'm kind of like,
it's like, what are you talking about?
I'm like, it's been a long, hard journey, and if you really want to read, like, I have a really detailed bio on my website, RaqConline.com, and it tells you, you know, like, it tells you since I was a little girl, I was hungry, and I would tell people, and people that I still talk to nowadays are like, we remember you would tell us.
And you can see it even in some of your pictures that you put on MySpace. You're very expressive, and you can tell this person belongs somewhere. so at what age did you finally say, you know what, radio is what I want to do?
You know what? At 18, when I graduated from high school, my first years in college, I was just like, I got an internship. And I always knew I wanted to be in entertainment. Believe it or not, I wanted to be an anchor woman. That's what I thought I was going to end up doing. And I still might. You know, I'm still young. I can still do it. But I didn't think that I was going to have such a love for radio. And I don't know. It's something that I can't even explain when I see the microphone.
It fires you up, right? I mean, because I've seen you behind the scenes, and you're just, you're dancing there.
Yeah, I'm dancing in the studio. It just seeing the microphone, to me, I always tell people, the microphone has saved my life. You know, like when I'm a kind of young lady that I have a lot to say, because it's like I'm everywhere, and you know, I've been through a lot. My parents got separated, divorced when I was 15, and
that's a hard time to get divorced.
That is a hard time, and I get actually a lot of kids that hit me up on MySpace that are actually going through the same thing. You know,
what do you tell them? I mean, because that's hard for anybody. No one ever wants to be put in that position, but I guess with such a high rate of people divorcing, there are a lot of children that are being affected. So how did it affect you, first of all, at that point?
You know what? It affected me where at the beginning, I just wanted to isolate a lot. Like, I just wanted to isolate. I felt like nobody understood what I was going through. I was like, who else's parents are getting divorced? You know, just mine. And in reality, there's a lot of people going through. There's a lot of families and couples that are separating after 20 years of marriage.
Right.
And I think that's why I went into shock, because my parents were married 23 years.
You figure they were past that point.
I was like, yeah, they're past that. They gave me a great foundation, but when it hit my home, it's kind of like you see it happening on the outside, but when it hits home, you're like, oh my gosh, I never thought I was going to go through this myself.
Right.
You know? And it just shook me up, and I went through the isolation phase, and I went through that phase of feeling by myself, but I kind of
while going to school.
Yeah, I was a sophomore in high school. And let me tell you, when I was a sophomore in high school and I was going through that, I wanted to graduate high school so fast. I felt like I had to grow up like instantly.
Okay.
I don't know why. It was just like a feeling of being torn. Like I felt like I was being pulled towards my mom and towards my dad. And I use that though as fuel. Like, you know what? F it. I'm going to just focus on radio and I'm going to be good at it. And I just became really focused after I graduated high school.
So you dove into just...
I literally dove into radio like I would dive into a pool and do a clavado. I dove in and I was just like, this is it, man. I love, you know what, I think I fell in love with the idea of being able to entertain and not having to look glamorous every single day. Because,
well, and you do glamorous very well.
Okay, thank you.
But I see what you're saying, because you could just go in and you have to have the voice, but you don't have to be on the camera.
To me, it's more like I don't have to. I could go in as a cheese ball, you know, wearing sweats, no makeup, hungover, or whatever.
Which is what most people want to do at work anyway. So that's true. Okay.
And it's like I always try to tell people, I'm like, you know, I'm a regular person too. You know, I like to have fun. Like I was telling the other young lady that I was talking to, I like to have fun. I'm still a little girl at heart. You know, and my older sister or my brother or my family is always like, you're not a little girl anymore. And I'm like, yes, I am. I'm the baby, you know, and I just have that real kid spirit. And I think that's why I'm gravitated a lot to work with youth.
Right.
I love working with high school kids. I mean, like, I get a certain type of energy out of working with the youth that it drives me to motivate them and pump them up.
So you remember yourself in that position?
Yeah. I remember myself in that position. When I was 15 and I was a sophomore in high school, I used to go to the Career Center a lot.
Really?
In my high school, and because
that was at the same time that your parents were going through divorce.
Yes, and I think that was my escape, the Career Center. I used to have this teacher. I'll never forget her. She was an African American lady. Her name is Miss Boyd. If you're seeing this, Miss Boyd, I love you. And it's when you remember somebody by their name, it's because they impacted you a lot.
That's true.
You know, and Miss Boyd, I used to always go in there and be like, Miss Boyd, what's the best college to go to for journalism? Like, I want to be on TV one day. I want to do radio. I don't know. Radio, TV, who knows? But I just want to, what's the best college to go to? I used to always go there and research my resources, and that's what a career.
What did she tell you?
She would recommend me to Cal State Long Beach and Cal State Fullerton. Like, she was all about going to college, you know? And I was never really into boys in high school. I was more into finding out what college I was going to go to and looking nice. You know, like, I always liked to be the girl that had the latest platforms, the baddest bell bottoms, the craziest hair color. I was more into that. I was more into fashion than I was into boys. Like, I get little listeners that call me on the radio station and they're just like 13, 12. Like, I want to shout out my boyfriend. And I'm like, how old are you? They're like little 13, 14-year-olds. And I'm like, are you serious?
With them being pressured to go that way by their peers, too, and then what they see on TV. And
yeah, and I see that nowadays, that it's like the cool thing to do. And it's really not the
cool thing to do. For you, the cool
thing
thing to do, and now, especially because it's gotten to where you've gotten, is you were more career-oriented and you were, again, going into what you wanted to do. That's what you were.
Yeah, that's what kind of drove me. That drove me. And the Career Center, I don't know. I was just like, I would go out to eat lunch and hang out with my friends. But I was the kind of girl that everybody was my friend. The cheerleaders were my friends. The football players were my friends. The gothic people. Yeah. The gothic people, the cholos. I talked to everybody. I was just kind of like, what's up? I would say what's up to everybody in the hallways. And I'm a cool chick to get along with, and I'm still like that. And I think that's why my listeners gravitate to me so much, because they're like, dude, you're a cool chick. You know, like, I connect.
I connect with them, right?
I connect to just being human.
Right.
You know, you don't have to be like, you know what I'm saying? I just connect to being human, and I like to tell people I can relate to what you're going through, you know? And I think people appreciate that about me, and that's why we make a connection on the radio, you know?
Right.